right, homies. I've got this rawhide just kind of laying in the pot below me that's completely dried out now, so I could save a few minutes. I've got things fairly lined up here where I want to start. And so I'm coming out through that circle you guys see. It's pretty common sense after this. I'm just connecting dots with the single strand here. Now, I want to go ahead and leave myself plenty of lace because I think I might make a cool little handle for it. I'm gonna use a little bit more actually. So I need a knot though, that way I can pull tight. So what I'm gonna do is just sit here and use a kind of like a knot where I can easily pull it out. So this, I'm gonna be able to pull out okay, but it's gonna keep where I need it to. So now I'll just pull back through. Make sure I get that nice and tight like you see, but I can literally just yank on that end, knot's done. So now I'm gonna find the other end of my strap. I'm gonna just start laying this across my lap. I'm outside. I don't want to get dirt all over it, obviously. So I'm just kind of folding it across back and forth in my lap here. That way it doesn't get all tangled up in knots. Makes my job a little easier here. All right. Now I'm gonna just keep going over and over and over so you guys will get the point here in a few. And this is part 2, by the way. Should have made those holes a hair bigger. You see me, I'm just putting these flaps the same way as I'm putting them back across my lap. Now before I pull real tight, put this back in my lap, have this ready to go for next round. Before I pull real tight, one, I want to make sure I'm still on my lines right that I'm wanting as far as like the general idea of where I want these heads. Okay, that's looking good. And 2, I want the skin side up, so it'll be a little shinier, like the fur side up, if that makes sense. So I'm wrapping this back around in a certain way. That way, when I go to pull it tight, it's gonna be on the side that I want it. Just like that. See that there? You can actually see little pieces of the fur still in that. Now I did line this up to where on the other side, when I close this, I'll still see the painting. And by the way, guys, see that hole? You want a hole in your drum. The reason why is these things don't take screws. So like down here in Florida or wherever you're at and it gets humid or rainy and your drum goes flat, we use the fire to heat that up and draw the moisture out of these skins to tone our drums. If you do that and you don't have a hole for the heat to escape inside of a double-headed drum like this, it will make the skins crack and you'll basically do all that work for nothing. So that hole is important. You guys see there, that goes through all the way through the drum. I put the hole in the earth because actually where that part of the earth is hard to tell upside down. That's where the cave is at, where Tatanka and Tokahei come running out, you know, the day Oyate, like we were talking about before, and became Lakota and became buffalo. Like I said, that's a whole other story. So now I'm just going to keep going and going and wrapping this drum over and over back through these holes. This part right here, pretty simple. Due to the time and me doing this on a phone, I'm getting me a computer here pretty soon to help with that, but I may not actually videotape the whole way me going around if it saves a little bit more time, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. So I'm just grabbing that in, pulling all the way out. And that makes it to where I'm not gonna get in many knots. I won't say none, you know, stuff happens, but it definitely minimizes the chance of knots there. So before I get real, I'm gonna go ahead and real tight, I'm gonna go ahead and lay that back down on my lap right here. Keep the end string hanging over my chair, ready to rock. But before I get to pulling too hard, you see how I've got it curved in here? I don't know if you guys can see that. You see how that leather's bending around in there? I don't want that. You know, I want it nice and straight, so I'm gonna just sit here and go the direction that I need to twist to make sure that's nice and straight. And then I'm gonna go up here and kind of guide it through to make sure that I have the hair side up. Now, when I'm sitting there needing to start tightening and tightening this, what I'll do is I'll sit there and grab this one, get it as tight as I can up there, grab the bottom here, get that as tight as I can up there, and just keep doing that same process. You don't want to get too far down this drum and not be doing that. See, my leather was starting to twist up, so we're going to get that fixed. And you see, and I'm sitting there and I'm pulling that almost together. Now, before I get it too tight, I want to make sure that that drum's going to be okay, because it's, to me, looking a little bit off to be that high. You know, like that means I might need to back it down a little bit. You know, like I think I'm going to loosen this up is what I'm getting at. And I'm going to guide that a little bit more over. And seeing this rawhide's nice and wet, you'll see, even if it's part 3, you'll see me kind of re-going through this drum. You know what I mean? So you don't have to sit there and go apey, tighten it all the way through. You know, like you can do what I just showed you and kind of pull like you were taking some shoelaces apart, you know, or tightening kind of thing. Not exactly rocket science. So move over, put it through my next one. Just grabbing it, grabbing an end. Seeing there, kind of wanted to turn on a little knot on me. Like I said, it minimizes the knots. It doesn't make it completely go away. So I got a lot of twist action on that one, so I'm gonna get it all straightened out here. Pull her on through, get the twist out. And seeing, I'm just taking a look around, keeping in mind, going like, I don't like where that's at. That needs to come over more. So if I can't pull it over with my hand, again, I'm just gonna sit there and loosen it a little bit. This is why I'm telling you not to go apey pulling it too hard, like you're not gonna get a chance to, you know, when you're not doing it too hard, you can sit there and easily loosen them like I did to reposition your drum heads. But if you don't tighten them enough, you really don't get that good of an idea of this needs to move over a little bit, or how this or that's looking, if that makes sense. There, that's where I want it. Perfect. maybe I'll show you guys how to make a hand drum too, as far as not a double-sided drum. Maybe I'll go inside at least and get one of my hand drums to show you what I mean by a hand drum versus a double-sided drum. You know, it would be easier if a hand drum, I guess, was just called a single-sided drum, because then it's self-explanatory what the difference between a double-sided drum and a single-sided drum is. I'm just laying that back over, just routine. You know, and you notice how I'm not in a rush whatsoever. You know, I'm anxious to go spend some time with my lady, but she also knows, like, I don't really do well being rushed. I mean, I can, but, you know, to me, slow is steady and steady is fast, you know. And making your drum should be something sacred, you know, like, to tell you the truth, I kind of refurbish this drum. Like, I made, you know, this was made for me by the great Pete Catch's grandson, but the ropes were getting bad. It wasn't used with rawhide, like, you know, sometimes back on Pioneer is just use what you gotta use. But I'm re-embracing this here with some rawhide instead of the rope, because after the years and years, it's just the fibers are breaking up and getting bad. But my point being is, if I was actually making the process of the drum, it's not probably something that I would YouTube. What I'm getting at is, if you're watching this video to learn how to make a drum, there's nothing wrong with that. There's probably plenty of drum making videos. However, if you're gonna make a sacred drum, you know, keep it sacred, and you know, you might consider just keeping that to yourself, kind of thing. We live in a world that's all about sharing, you know, and sometimes you take the sacredness out of things, sharing too darn much. So that's just what I think. And it's definitely okay to disagree on things, you know, like, this isn't a debate. This is just some dude on a video tape on YouTube. I'm a scientist, but I'm also a lot of other things. And I like teaching about those other things too, you know. Bushcraft, making a drum, you know, like all kinds of cool stuff. Why? Because I enjoy it, you know, and I'm all about enjoying life. Lay it back down on my lap, put the piece over, repetition, baby. And each time I'm doing this, I'm saving myself some trouble by yanking too tight, you know, and getting my little twisties out. I don't want those twists in there, for one. Like it makes it crack, and two, like how it lays on your lap. Like, someone watching this might be looking, going, man, I think it's cool when it all twists up. But as it sits there and gets moist in a sweat lodge, you know, and then dry by the fire, and repetition, all those bends, that's pressure in the skin, right? You know, so it's just increasing the chance of the integrity of that rawhide, and it's probably going to crack on you. I'm just going around and around like that. See how that side's kind of looking a little droopy, but a lot of reason why I have that is because I don't want this painting right here to get covered up. You know, so that's lining up about right where I'd want it. Just because it's a little bit of over leather on that, like that's okay. Plus I can loosen that up. Even when this is all tied and done, I can loosen this up and reposition that. This is something you need to get done in a day. Like, as far as you only have a day to get this drum made after you start it, because this is stuff's going to start drying out, and you don't want to soak, you know, the whole thing like in a tub, you know, like it's just not gonna be good for you. So, you know, designate a day that you're ready to get this done. It doesn't take that much time. I'm sitting here kind of taking my time, but I'm also trying to teach you guys how to do it. I can see we're already getting back up to like 15 minutes, so I'm probably gonna be having to do a part 3. This might be a part 7, you know, or a 7-part video series if it needs to be, you know. Cool. I'll just post them all today, so if you guys want to watch them all, like, cool, let's kick it. Just pulling, pulling my arm's length. That's all I'm doing. Why? Because it's easy. And my arm, no matter how many times I do this, is the same size. So look at that. It's perfect little loops. Lay it over your lap. Pull the string a little bit further so you know where it's at. Just lay it over the chair there. Now I'm making sure I've got everything that I need lined up, which doesn't look like I do there. So doing my little twisty there. Pulling through. Cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and be leaving this fairly loose like this till I start getting the majority of this drum. I won't do the whole thing before I start making some maneuvers, but I want to get a good chunk of it knocked out, because that's just more things that I don't have to move and fall out of place, you know, once I get it where I want. You know, so imagine if I'm sitting there lining it up every time I'm going through that, it's a little overkill. What I like to do is think about that drum as the 4 directions, you know what I mean? Get your west done, get your north done, get your east done. South is the calm wind, you know what I mean? So it's like, in the south, keep that open. As far as what I'm getting at is complete 3/4 of your drum before you start getting too stressed out about where things are lining up. I'm going to go ahead and end this one, and I'll see you guys here in a minute on part 3. I'll probably go ahead and do a couple more here, save a few minutes on the video. See you guys.